Don't need date of birth, just need a credit card number, CCV number, and an expiry date.
Ha, 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 look what someone's put on the screen. Ha, ha, ha. They're going to make us cry. Anyway.
What time are we starting? 25 past?
25 past.
That's now.
That's about now, isn't it? Do you remember what we're doing?
No, no clue what we're doing.
Fuck it. We'll just go with it. Anyone else coming in? Shuffle along, because we're over here.
We should say we'll come and shuffle to the front.
Shuffle along. It's like,
troublemakers at the back.
don't worry, we don't bite. I suppose you want to see the screen, not us. This is difficult.
No, it's not.
It's an oxymoron.
I don't know.
Shall we start?
Yes. We'd like a little bit more interaction than how many responses? 5 responses.
Yeah, we're not starting until we've got 10.
There's definitely more than 5 people in the room, and you have come to an interactive session, so it'll get really boring really fast if you don't interact.
To be fair, though, the abstract wasn't on the website, so they didn't know that.
That is true.
7.
So thanks for coming to the session you know nothing about. It's appreciated.
It's called the business of IT. Right, so where is most people come from Birmingham and planet Vulcan. Wow. Leonard Nemo's here.
Who put Broadcom?
I know. That never gets old. Never gets old.
This is it. This is the whole presentation, by the way. It's just me and Matt talking about what you put on the word cloud. Should we get started?
Yeah, let's get started.
I'm waiting for my intro slide.
Sorry. We've rehearsed this.
So this is a session that we've delivered a couple of times, actually. It was built...
How many times?
Lost count. It was built about 2-3 years ago.
7 times.
About 2 or 3 years ago for a conference in the US called South by Southwest. And back then, we ran it as a session looking at what's needed to be successful in executing digital strategy in the boardroom of a company, right? So you know, what skill set, what do you need to do, how do you focus a successful digital strategy as an organization? That's evolved over a period of years. VMware Explore picked it up, and we delivered this at the executive event that they run on day 0 of Explore. So for those of you who have come to Explore, on the Monday there's an exec day, and we delivered this to the execs just after Raghu had been on stage doing the intro session. Oh.
Sorry, I'm just checking something. Sorry, keep going.
All right. And then Linda kindly asked us if we'd come and deliver the session here. And the focus on what we're going to talk about and what we want you to interact with us on is what's required to deliver resilience as a leader. And how have we seen people maintain IT, maintain what they're doing in the face of challenging headwinds. Brief intros, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Ed. I sit on the technical leadership team for VMware in Europe, or Broadcom, think VMware. I've been here for 11 years. Prior to that, I was a customer. I was a customer for a long period of VMware. And we said we'd do a fact. I'm not going to do a fact because I do the same fact every time I'm here, so I don't have a fact.
Go on, do a fact.
No, everyone knows the fact. Everyone knows the fact.
No, do the fact.
Is that only because your scripted fact relies on me saying my fact, and therefore it ruined... Yes, I thought so.
Basically.
So my fun fact, for those of you who don't know, if you've watched the BBC TV series Robot Wars or the ABC Discovery series BattleBots, I'm the team captain of the reigning World Championship team for building those. I have a way more interesting presentation on building, running, and maintaining 100-kilo combat robots, but unfortunately, that's not the presentation that I have here today.
Because my flight arrived.
Sorry?
Because my flight arrived.
Yes, and so we're stuck with me and Matt, and Matt will now introduce himself.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Matthew Steiner. I've been at Broadcom for 1 day.
Well played.
Sorry. I've been at VMware by Broadcom for 13 years and 6 months or so. I work in our advisory team as a business strategist. My job is to help our customers understand the value of technology to their business. Great job. Do I have to do an interesting fact? Yeah, my interesting fact... You
made me do my interesting fact. The least you could do is do yours.
My interesting fact is way more interesting. I have written a book.
That was the sound of a pin dropping in the background.
Sound of a pin dropping. Unfortunately, I live in Edinburgh, as most of you know. It's not a book like J.K. Rowling would write. It's a book about VMware's operations, the greatest software product ever created that I wrote. And about 300 people bought it. I'm still getting royalty checks about £1 a quarter, which is delightful.
It was amazing, given that it's basically now a historical book about a historical product.
Yes.
So worryingly, somewhere's still running it because they're still buying copies of the book.
I'm fairly sure there's someone who wrote, yeah, hello. It was vRealize Operations version 6.1 specifically. I'm sure there's someone who wrote a book on DOS 6 who's still getting royalties though. So anyway, should we crack on?
Yes. I don't know how long we've got. I actually have no idea.
Literally no idea, but we'll rattle through this. Oh, look, this slide.
Oh, this slide. Right. So
this is much better without the notes, isn't it?
It's much harder without the notes. So we opened the session by talking about the global trends that everyone is experiencing at the moment, right? Whether that is huge economic challenges, inflationary challenges. Remember, we're presenting this to CEOs, CFOs, and CIOs of organizations. And we were talking to them about how these challenges don't just affect me paying my mortgage or whether I want to build the extension. They're affecting them when they're looking at investment strategy, when they're looking at what they're going to do with their organization, whether or not they can afford an M&A acquisition. All sorts of stuff are driven by inflationary pressures. Then you've got the challenge of the global labor market. Post-COVID, we've seen a massively fragmented labor market. Not so much a shortage of skills, but the wrong skills in the wrong place at the wrong time, and access to skills has become a real problem. What else were the other ones, Matt? Because we haven't got any notes.
Ambiguity?
All of these things come together to drive ambiguity, uncertainty, volatility, and complexity. And that's what the subject of what we're talking about today is. How do you navigate through that path? The US Army took these letters and used them to spell the acronym VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. And it's how the US Army train their people to operate on the battlefield. You might think that when you're in an army, what you learn is all about regimental order and structure and control. But the reality is what the army teaches you is how to manage highly volatile environments with huge rates of change. How do you deal with uncertainty when you don't understand the variables in front of you? How do you manage complexity when you have variables coming at you with complex correlations and dependencies? And finally, how do you deal with ambiguous information? And how do you make decisions in that environment? So the US Army coined VUCA as a way of training people to operate on the battlefield. They defined what these things mean. They defined mitigations for them. And what we're going to dive into today is how some VMware customers have used technology that we sell to help manage their challenges with volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity that we've seen the likes of never before, I think, on the global stage, whether it's geopolitical uncertainty, war, all sorts of things coming in that leaders are having to deal with, process and respond to with no choice, right? You can't avoid it. You can't wait till next week. You can't put it on next quarter's radar. When these things happen, leaders are having to react immediately.
And what we're also trying to do with this audience here is bring that slightly more to the engineering side, to the infrastructure side, to the stuff that you run. So how does VUCA have an impact on the stuff that you do? How are you going to be able to cope, or how are you coping in this world? So, what should I talk about now? Value chain. So, to do this, what I'm first going to do is describe what digital is, and how it is an important facet within every organization's value chain. So I said earlier, my job is to help customers understand the value of technology to their business. In order to do that, the first thing I have to do is understand what your businesses are. And you come from a really diverse group of organizations. There'll be retail, pharmaceutical, manufacturing, etc. So what I tend to do is use a value chain to map out a business. And then on that value chain, I try and work out what a customer's doing with digital to improve their business. So by way of an illustration, imagine the business I'm talking to is a car manufacturer. So their value chain would look something like this. On the left-hand side, as you're looking, I'll use that thing there. On the left-hand side, as you're looking at the products and services, you've probably got a bunch of engineering folks who are designing maybe a range of cars that you're going to be building and bringing out to the market sometime in the future. Those designers are probably also designing the factories and the factory processes through which those cars are going to be manufactured. Then when it comes to actually building those cars, those factories will be getting components, maybe raw materials such as sheet metal, or components such as lighting clusters or engines from other organizations so they can manufacture a car and the car will roll off the production line. And they've designed and built some cars. We then move to the customer and distribution side of the organization. And in that side of the organization, the cars are getting sold. So they probably go through some form of distribution process, maybe on big ships that take them around the world and get shipped to certain geographies. Then they're probably sold either through showrooms, or they may be sold online, or they may be sold business to business, to fleet buyers. In that customer distribution, you've probably also got servicing, you've got aftermarket care and second-hand car sales, etc. And all of that is supported in the middle by employees in the back office. So people who look after how the business runs. So legal, finance, IT, all those sort of HR, all those sort of people who become increasingly important. And what organizations are trying to do across this value chain is improve it. So a big example in the automotive industry where that would happen. On the products and services side, they may be using digital to improve that, perhaps in their factory tooling. So perhaps they're using a digital twin of their factories so they can, in real time, work out what small changes to their factory processes will be before actually implementing them in the factory. So they can ensure that whenever they make a change to their factory process, they can deliver a high-quality car very, very quickly. In the customers and distribution section, perhaps they're offering something to their customers to give their customers an amazing customer journey. Maybe some form of online configurator, so the customer can choose which particular options they want on the car, what does that look like in the car, how does that change the finance of the car, etc., etc. So ways in order to sell their product more effectively. And in the central function, perhaps they're looking to offer their employees a world-class digital experience by offering an amazing digital workspace like we get in VMware by Broadcom for their employees so they can retain and attract the best employees into their business. And what we wanted to do, so that's the value chain, okay? And what we wanted to do next was look at how VUCA is having a play with some of our customers within this value chain. And after we've done this, we're going to go on to some workshop bits where we'll help you describe to us the problems that you face in your organizations. So let's look at the products and services side. One organization we've been working with is a company called Carto. Now, Carto are a software company that provide geolocation-aware mapping services to organizations. So, for example, a retail organization maybe use their software and their service to decide where is the best place in a given geography to place a new retail store so they can maximize revenues from that store. Or a medical organization may want to understand what are the demographics of a given area so that a hospital that they're building, they know what medical services they need to provide within that hospital. So Carto have a whole range of customers across every organization. All those customers are using different clouds and different software platforms. And Carto wanted to reduce complexity. That offered them loads of complexity. So by using software technologies from VMware, they were able to remove complexity from that software supply chain, and they were able to deliver their software to their customers in half the time that it used to take them to deliver software. On top of that, they're able now to deliver 12 software drops per year instead of the one software drop per year they're able to deliver before, which makes them very compelling to their customers. Their customers always have the latest and greatest. On the right-hand side, oh, that's my favorite one. North Fresh Farms. What was it called again? Nature Fresh Farms. Gosh. Usually we have some notes in front of us, and I haven't delivered since this November. That was a whole month ago. Okay, so hands up who's experienced uncertainty in the supply chain. Anyone been to a supermarket and seen empty shelves, right? Yes, not a good thing.
More hands go up.
All the hands go up. Oh, yes, because I wanted to buy some peppers, and the pepper shelf was empty. So Nature Fresh Farms, fascinating business. What they've done is they've taken farming and totally digitized it. And they talk about it from seed, through growing, through harvesting, through distribution, to selling on supermarket shelves. They can track all their products all the way through that life cycle. And they can control everything around that life cycle using digital technologies. And what that's allowed them to do, it's allowed them to remove the uncertainty from the supply chain, because they know exactly what they're going to be able to deliver to their customers, to the supermarket shelves, and they know exactly when they're going to be able to deliver those products. And the cool side effect is the products are better. Their tagline is they have a better tasting pepper, which the Americans love. And also their tomatoes are better tasting, apparently.
Everything is.
I read all about that. So the point there is, though, they've looked at their business, they've looked at what the difficulties here, which is uncertainty, and they've worked out how digital can improve that situation. It's looking worried about time, though, but I realise we've got a clock there.
Right.
You know when you ask how long we got? There's a thing there that says
timing.
29 minutes and 9 seconds. So we're good.
Yeah.
I thought I'd point that out. It's you next. You doing the Ds.
I am data-driven decision-making. So the third example is removing ambiguity. We've seen huge themes in the last 12 months around what people want to do with data, the questions people want to ask of their data. Data only has value if I can do something with it, otherwise it's just occupying some storage arrays. Dell was an example of having exactly that problem. They had a hugely disaggregated set of data sets, whether that's information around how Robbie at the front here is browsing Dell's website right now, whether it's how Simrana sat down here, decided to try and sell services for Dell, whether it's internal stuff around stock management, supply chain management. Dell had all of these pieces of information. They were all separate. It's about 420 petabytes of unstructured, siloed data. And that was causing a problem because it made decision-making really hard. Because every bit of data they wanted was in a different little fiefdom of data world. What they actually used was, anecdotally, it was VMware Greenplum to standardize on a way of providing that data. But what was important was they pulled all that data together, and then they democratized access to it. So anyone within the organization could request access to that data to help them make decisions. And what that did was it removed ambiguity from decision-making. It gave everyone access to everything that you could ever want to try and make an accurate, informed decision that they simply never had the ability to do before. Going forwards, what they now want to do is start pointing AI and ML services at that data to enable them to ask questions of that data tomorrow they can't ask today. And so that was a great example of how you can take ambiguity out of decision-making by giving access to data at the right time, and that enables you to make better decisions, which might even make better peppers. Anyway, these three examples from us are fascinating, but what this session is really about is getting you folks in the audience to get your phones out and provide us with some feedback on what's happening in your organizations. And this is great, by the way. This is basically group therapy, because what you'll all quickly realize is that everyone has all the same problems, all the stuff that you thought was only going on in your environment, it turns out is happening everywhere. Matt.
So, we're going to go back to your mobile phones, and you might need to go to menti.com and use that code at the top if you haven't logged in already. We want you to build a word cloud. And what we'd like you to do, and if you press refresh on the one you put your where you lived in or wherever it was before, you should be able to see the next question. If someone can't see that, hands up, because we can fix the tech on the fly. What we'd like you to do is take a think about your IT projects and give us some views on what's stopping you from delivering those projects in half the time it currently takes you.
Yeah.
I mean, I spend my life with customers, and I'm an impatient chap. Oh, we got a response. IT person policy good. Yes, good.
Good system works.
The system works. That's good. So we did it in half the time. I'm a very impatient chap, and I get really frustrated when projects take forever. I've been working with one account at the moment who have taken years to get started on one of their particular projects, and it drives me to distraction. And the question I always ask them is, what's stopping you doing this sooner? And there's always very good reasons. There's no reason why an organization wants to spend 6 months standing up some new infrastructure. But sometimes, you know, if we compare ourselves, if you compare yourselves to cloud services, for example, you know, how do you stack up, and why aren't you able to provide systems and software directly to your consumers as quickly as the cloud service can? Because, you know, you've got control of everything. What are we going to get? Oh, by the way, you can answer more than once.
Yes, yeah. Keep piling in the answers. The more answers, the better. We'll try and find a way of getting you a copy of this afterwards. Maybe we'll end up tweeting it or something. It's probably the easiest way to disseminate it.
As long as no one puts Broadcom on again.
Yes, or Ed and Matt.
If anyone could work out whether do the emojis work on this version?
I don't know.
They turned them off in America, but we'll find out soon if you can try emojis as well. I'm noticing DNS isn't up there yet. That's usually... We've got a slightly... Yes, emojis are working.
Emojis working.
Oh, Halloween. How timely.
Bit late.
The one we did the first time in the London VMUG, there was a massive poo in the middle. And by the time they worked it all out, oh no, I've given it away.
Steiner, Hoppitt, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Like a decision.
Yeah, Broadcom, I've heard that one before. I have to be honest, we did this at the Executive Summit event in Barcelona. Hock Tan was there with the customers, and we were doing this word cloud. And someone did genuinely write Broadcom and put it up on the word cloud, and there's Hock sitting at the back of the room. Me and Matt were up the front going, a little bit awkward.
So I think we've got some decent answers there, actually. Thank you.
Well, what we've got is a great selection of practitioner answers.
Yeah.
So when we asked this question in Barcelona or Las Vegas when we were doing Explore, we got answers from CX level, so CEOs, CTOs, CIOs. And they varied wildly between the two continents, and we'll come to that in a minute. But interestingly, a similar but very different selection of challenges.
Skills is in there. I possibly would expect to see a bit more of that, but that may be the practitioner in the audience who's delving into more different reasons, actually.
And I think we're seeing real problems. Holidays is in there. Sorry? Holidays is in there. Like, if you're running a small team, holidays is a genuine problem that the CTO is definitely not thinking about.
The cool one, though, security and regulations are coming out. So that's a very typical European answer. So well done. But that was probably one of the dichotomies. I'm not sure if we got those two slides on this deck.
I don't know. It's your deck.
We're going to find out.
It's choose your own adventure. What's the next slide?
Yeah, we're playing what's the next slide. I'm using the wrong slide deck. So what we found...
well, let's see if we have found it. Let's see if we've got the slide of what we did in Barcelona and the US.
We'll talk this first, though.
Go for it.
We should. So what have we got in there? So the ones that are jumping out, resources, skills, regulations, and I think that those have been pretty common. As we've been asking this same question for a couple of years now. I think we saw regulations appear a bit more in the Americas than last time we asked it, but let's see if those word clouds are in this. Entry results. Oh, they are.
There you go.
Results from last year.
So what's really interesting here is that if you ask the same question to the same demographic in two different geographies, you get a completely different set of answers. In the US, the focus was all about resources, skills, budget, legacy problems. In fact, what was really interesting was when we talked to leaders there, they were having to shape their IT strategy on the basis of the skills they could afford. So they were having to choose how to architect systems, platforms, and applications on the basis of the skill sets that the HR organization would let them hire. And if the HR organization determines that a developer level 3 only earns up to this much money, that's all they can hire at. And if the skill sets that they need are way above that, they weren't able to get access to them, which I found fascinating, that the people would be constrained like that. In Europe, however, all the problems are around regulation, legislation, security. We could call all of that sovereignty. And so, a very different split. And what was really interesting was taking these outputs to our leadership teams in the US and going, this is why Europe's different. This is why the challenges that we're trying to help people solve for in the European market are fundamentally different from what's happening in the US. And, and even today, we saw, I think regulation was on that word cloud, ahead of alt-tabbing. Yeah, so even now, we've got regulation and security both as sort of like central in that word cloud. Yeah,
skills is there. I was possibly expecting skills a bit more. It's interesting that Joe picked, that was one of the first things Joe talked about this morning in his keynote, so that's cool. Let's move on to the next one. We do go straight to the next one. Don't scan that, because that's the wrong thing. What I'm going to do is do it on here. So, this is a fun one. So, on the right-hand side, if you remember I talked earlier about Nature Fresh Farms, and they're providing an amazing customer journey. And also on the right-hand side of the value chain, one of the things we see most of our customers looking to do is provide an amazing digital journey for the customers. So you started doing this already. So the question to you here is, which organizations do you see providing an amazing digital experience? And we're probably going to pick on a few people to ask them why they've put their particular things up. If we see anything surprising, which we haven't seen yet.
By the way, if your company does an amazing experience, please put your
own company up as well. Because we're intrigued, because this is the big differentiator for most consumer-facing organizations. And from a technology perspective, the ability for technologists to allow your organization to build this stuff is critical.
I just realized in the US when we did this, banking didn't show up.
No, it's weird.
So we were straight in here with things like Monzo and Starling, and in the US, I don't think when we asked the question, we haven't got the output from the US one.
They were all airlines.
They were airlines and travel.
Airlines and
all
travel.
Very airline and travel focused.
We're not seeing what we saw at the London VMUG, though.
Sorry? Well, we were amazed that someone would put Delta on there, to be honest.
Yeah, quite a few people put Delta on there, which really was quite shocking.
Come on, we've only had 10 responses. There's more than 10 of you in the room, and you can put more than one response in.
Yeah, and I'm amazed we haven't got the theme that we got in London at the VMUG. We did this exact same thing at London VMUG, only the words were better.
Yes, and you're right. We haven't got a single overlap yet between what we had. We asked this in London
really
and here.
Weird. I know why. Christmas is coming.
Yes.
Yeah, it's because Christmas is coming. So when we did this in London, pretty much all the big ones were like foods. Yeah. It was like KFC, Domino's, what was it? Deliveroo.
McDonald's.
But KFC was the biggest, and must be not on front of people's minds because you must all be on diets for Christmas, like I am. Ah, it's demographics.
I hadn't thought of that.
It's demographics.
That's a fair comment.
So we've got a rich demographic here, as opposed to
a different demographic.
But Simrana is from London. Oh, that's why Uber's up there. Was that you? What did you put up there?
Why did you put NatWest? Why NatWest?
You could, but you just know it's better. It's sometimes that's such a point. It's sometimes quite hard to realise what it is that makes it better. You just know it is. What
was interesting again when we did this at Explore is that pretty much all the companies that appeared on the screen, everyone in the room agreed with. You know, everyone was like, yeah, that's the example, and what we were saying to them was, look, you know, these are the companies that you benchmark your digital experience against, right? This is what you've all collectively said is the best you can get. When you go away, this is what you need to work at how you aspire to.
So
don't just.
I'm probably going to show my age here. What is Be My Eyes and what is...
you might need that when you get older.
Sorry?
You might need that. Who put Be My Eyes?
Rory. Oh, I'm not showing my age then.
Rory, explain to Matt what Be My Eyes is and why, because he's old, you might need it.
Be My Eyes is a Danish invented app that basically allows a blind person to make a call to a sighted person to help them identify something, read something, or
Oh, that's awesome.
It's fantastic.
Cool.
So as you get older, you
yeah.
might need it.
Well, yeah. And what about Oddbox?
Wonky vegetable delivery service.
Ah, food at last.
Food's arrived.
Food's arrived, and it's wonky vegetables, which are right up the ESG agenda. I quite like a wonky vegetable. What else we got? Anything else?
Nothing stands out. The usual Apple, Netflix, blah blah blah.
Starling Bank. I thought they were more B2B. Mustn't be any. They're consumer now. Starling. Okay. Interesting.
Onwards.
Really?
There's so many websites you go on now where things don't work. You go on and you get chatbots where you have to defeat the chatbot now.
Gamification, it's gone too far where you have to defeat the chat box. That's really interesting, because I've been trying to open a joint bank account with my sister for family reasons with another bank, and so far it's taken us 6 weeks, it's not done yet. So tonight I'm going to go on a call with her, and we'll go to Starling Bank and see if we can just open one up. Might try that. Are they? Oh, God. This is the best day ever. If Monzo, I'm already a customer, but yeah, send the referral codes on. Let's all open bank accounts as needed, but not with the. I'm not going to name the other bank because it's not really fair. But they're not up here, surprisingly. Oh, like what 3 words? I'm not naming them. I'm not naming them. I like what 3 words. Though my flat has got slime in its what 3 words. I can't remember the other 2. And that just gave me that. Anyway, let's move on. What are we doing next? We've got one more. Don't use the scan me there.
Don't scan the code.
That won't work. Results. We talked about
Done
them,
that.
didn't we? That. Finally. No, we've got a different question for here.
Yes.
I can't remember what the question is.
But you wrote
I
it.
think you know what you're doing now, though. Oh, yes, right. So, Imagine you work in technology. We
Which
all
you do.
actually. So what problems? So we had the original question was around data-driven decision making, and we were trying to prize out of CXOs what they were doing with AML. But here, actually, we want to get to a grip closer to what problems are you facing in your organization so far in delivering some form of successful AI/ML platform and get some answers.
Or if you don't have it in your organization, what are the barriers that you see to it when you need it, right? You know, a lot of the announcements that we made around private AI aren't because we expect someone to run out tomorrow and go, oh my God, I must buy this immediately, but because there's an expectation within organizations that as people want more and more services delivered, leveraging things like AI and ML to look at data, suddenly that's going to hit corporate IT. Suddenly the little pockets that are happening in the cloud today are going to suddenly hit corporate IT in terms of, can someone help us do this on-prem? Can someone help us do this in our data center with our data? And so that's why we're focusing on that private AI story. And interestingly, lots of them, who's put Project Bandwagon?
No. Don't worry, because it's a term Ed uses all the time
Yes.
with respect to it.
That's
so
why
you can own up to
that's
it.
why I'm wondering who put it.
Because you've not typed. So unless you were typing in your pocket. No, he's not
No,
a
my
millennial.
phone's down there.
Who put Ram Bandwagon? Just interested.
Who put
Because
what?
you're the most Ed-like person in the room.
Who put what?
Yeah. Project Bandwagon. And supply chain acquiring data, Chris.
Who's Chris?
Who's Chris?
Interesting that privacy, the core tenet of the entire concept of the private AI story, is the thing that people see as being the biggest.
But we
the biggest
didn't say private here. We just said
No.
platform.
But again, but
Privacy's jumping out.
privacy jumps out.
Skills is there in three places.
If you lack skills in AI, we have Robbie available down the front here. He's available on a monthly.
He's not actually, because I'm leaning on Robbie hugely to build my skills up.
Oh, okay.
Just in
Robbie's
case.
not available to help anyone.
Just in
Robbie,
case.
have you done a session today on AI? Was it good? Lots of people come. Excellent.
Yeah, well done. I like FOMOs in there. That's pretty cool.
I love the FOMOs in there.
Cool. Skilled data sciences. And there was another one I was looking at just a second. Where was it? Understanding use cases.
That's an interesting set of answers.
Good
Because
set of
we've never
answers.
asked this question before, so we had no idea what was going to appear. We hadn't soak tested this one.
No, I think it's a good question. We should ask it again.
I'm going to go and take the answers and go and provide them back to our engineering teams.
Yes. Tell them they're correct.
Yes.
Good.
Awesome.
Thank you for that. What's next? It's you next, isn't it?
It's me next.
It's I go for bourbon now, don't I?
Yeah, but traditionally you'd go for bourbon now when we're in America. And I do a sort of a closing comments thing. So we've given you a really short version of something that was a really long interactive workshop, but hopefully it's been a little bit thought-provoking or a little bit therapy-ish, even if it's just watching a word cloud build and go, thank God I'm not on my own. But, the customers that we talked around, they've all had to chart a route through this volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Whether it was Carto, and Carto's problem, as Matt said, was that they needed to simplify their software delivery supply chain. All these customers had different clouds. They all said, I want it to work on the cloud that I've chosen for it to work on. And so they turned around and said, if we standardize on VMware Cloud, if we standardize on VCF, we can actually help you deliver it into your chosen cloud with relative ease. And it simplified the platform they were building on, rather than doing one release for EC2, one release for Azure, one release for Google, one release for on-prem. The Nature Fresh Farms, which gets Matt really excited, is actually a really lovely example of dealing with complexity and ambiguity. Right? They didn't just digitize the supply chain, they digitized farming. For them, it was about providing data into the hands of the farmer, the people who were doing the harvesting, the people looking after logistics and supply chain, the people in the supermarket to make sure that they understood the lead time between a pepper leaving the farm and reaching the supermarket, to predict when they were going to need to get a shipment of peppers there and feed that all the way back through the supply chain to which areas of the farm am I cultivating, which areas of the field am I planting. It was a complete end-to-end supply chain from seed to shelf, and that was all built on top of VMware technology, and putting the data in people's hands was all done through Workspace ONE. And then the last example was Dell looking to get greater agility at decision-making. How do we do that? How do we pull data together? And again, they used VMware Greenplum to create a single place for that data to live. But what was important was they had the epiphany moment of democratizing access to it, right? Their focus was, we need to simply give everyone access to everything, and then we'll work out how they can go and make different decisions on the basis of that. And like I said, going forwards, they want to go and point AI services at that, to ask questions of the data that they simply can't ask today. And so, successful leaders still chart ways forward. It doesn't matter what's happening in the global space. It doesn't matter what volatility is out there, what's causing uncertainty, challenges around complexity and ambiguity. If you know what you're doing and if you leverage technology in the right way, you can still deliver a better pepper onto a farm, a better pepper onto a shelf, sorry. You can still make sure that your healthcare facility is in the right place and it's got the right services for the demographic around it, and you can make better decisions based on the data that you've got.
And as technologists, I think getting closer to those use cases and the value of the technology and the platforms and the speed at which you can deliver those platforms to your internal customers and your external customers is key to success. And getting more involved with what the business outcome is as well. It becomes more and more fascinating as you kind of move through some form of technology career. Certainly what quite a lot of us in VMware have been doing, it's my particular passion at the moment, is truly understanding what the purpose of that, we go and sell them a product called vSphere or something like that turned to VCF, but what was the purpose of that? What we were able to do with that technology for this particular customer to help them grow their business, or to help them provide an amazing customer experience that's memorable, and you think you're kind of part of it. So if you can have the opportunity to be part of that within your organization, that's really powerful.
I think my closing guidance to you, as someone who's worn the customer hat for VMware, right? I've lived the highs and the lows of being a VMware customer in my life. Engage with VMware at the level of solving these problems, right? One of the things I was really lucky to do at my time here is to work with McLaren, right? And they had a real problem. They had a fixed number of people that go to the track every weekend. They have a fixed number of days at the track. And they're a great company to work with because they only have one litmus test for whether they want to buy something. Does it make the car go faster? Right? Very few companies have a mission statement as simplistic as that to understand whether or not something's worth investing in. And for them, one of their problems was we spend a load of time across the race weekend looking for people. Is Matt in the garage? Is Matt in the pits? Is Matt in the engineering center? Is Matt in the hospitality center? Is Matt at the bar? And so, the business problem that one of the business problems they came to us with was, could you give us a Where's Wally screen? Could you just give us a board in every location that simply says, on the basis of geolocating a member of the personnel, where are they at any one point in time? Because the amount of time that I will save by not having to try and work out where they are would buy me back 2 man days across the weekend of extra race personnel who can then focus on making the car go faster. Right? So, VMware, we sell a great range of products. We sell a great range of technology solutions for problems. But for me, for Matt, and for the other VMware folks in this room today, the magic happens when we start to engage with you at solving problems like this. And so that's my closing guidance, right? If you can work with us to help solve the real problems behind the problems of your internal customer, that's when we can deliver amazing results.
And with that, we will thank you for building some amazing word clouds, which we shall
find a way of sharing.
I'll put them on X.
X. You'll X them.
Yeah, I don't really like X anymore. But I should probably you can put them on X. You're on X.
I'll stick them up. Anyway, thank you very much for coming, and enjoy the rest of VMUG.
Thank you.